Welcome to this one-to-one special. I'm Peter Martin and I'm absolutely delighted that on the couch with me today is a living legend, and certainly for Dons fans it's a special moment to welcome John McMaster of that famous Aberdeen Cup Winners' Cup and Super Cup team of 1983. John, welcome along. I'm absolutely delighted that you brought your medals as well, because when you look back on those memories, 14 years of Pittodrie, it must be with tremendous pride.
Oh, it was a great time for me. My family is, my three boys are Aberdonians, born and bred. My wife, I was going with my wife when I moved up to Pittodrie at 17. I was winching her at the time. So eventually, so we were actually, we're in the throes of getting married as well. So to leave there at that time was quite difficult. But I didn't even have a clue where Aberdeen was at the time. A young 17-year-old in the shipyards, and then up there, wow, it's just so quick.
Yeah, I mean, at that period of time, I mean, I can remember Aberdeen obviously winning the 1976 League Cup final, Davy Robb scoring at Hampden. That was still, you know, Billy McNeill coming in was a transitional period as well, and people were filled with optimism at what he was doing. And then, of course, Fergie just took it onto a completely different level.
Well, Billy was good for me, I must admit. He transformed me, because I had a couple of coaches who really ignored me. Not in a bad way, but, you know, they had their favourites.
Yeah.
You know, and the managers have their favourites, as you see. And that was the first time I get that sort of feeling that these guys before me had the previous years. And I knew I was a better player than them when I was training and that. But when Billy McNeill came up, I was the first player to meet him at the beach end with the chairman, Mr. Donald. And that kind of meant something, because John Clark was there as well, and John was different classes. They were so relaxed and made you feel relaxed. But he had this kind of aura about him, the two of them. If you opened the door, you went in, everybody shut up. And right away, that's respect, and you know what he's done because of who he was as well, the achievements he'd done at Celtic, the two of them. And I thought we were on to a good thing as well, and he liked Aberdeen as well, because that religious side, no, that was all gone.
Yeah.
You know, couldn't even spell Protestant or Catholic up there.
Yeah. Did you sense, you know, even from Billy's days, and obviously you're going to get a manager who is just iconic, special, you know, Britain's greatest ever manager. Did you sense that they were Aberdeen and the chairman were looking to build something special?
Aye, I think when you get somebody like Billy McNeill and then the boss, which I always call him, it's just I'd call the two of them, but to get that sort of situation, both of them came from the old firm and they enhanced us with knowledge that they had, and they were taught by the Waddles and by the Steens of this world, and they knew how to handle difficult situations on game side and also on and off the park as well. Very strict but fair,
yeah.
Both of them.
How important was the psychology? You talked about the fact that they were from the old firm. How important was that, not only psychology, but the mentality in going into games?
Oh, you had to be ready. You had to be prepared. As far as, I think the two of them were so well trained at what they'd done with Mr. Steen and Mr. Waddle and all that. To get that sort of side things going, we never really had that to start with. We had those reserves, first team, and youths, you know, it was all kind of separated. But when they came, they joined everybody together in the five-a-sides, and they joined in as well. And you know, I know the managers before Ali McLeod, no, Ali he was good as well as far as the coaching side as well. But when they came on to another level, and it was off the park as well, everything you had to win at.
Yeah.
You had to win at table tennis, you had to win at snooker, you had to win at tips in the gym. You had to win the wee games. You know what I mean? It's just something that was there. It was there to start with, but it didn't have that kind of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know, and they just hammered it home.
Well, I'll tell you.
Don't turn your back on a Celtic or Rangers player.
Yeah.
Wee things like that.
It's amazing, actually, you're talking about, you know, that attitude to it. I mean, Billy McNeill obviously goes back to Celtic, and suddenly you get a man who comes in. What was can you even remember first impressions, anything in those early years?
He was just a young boy, he was only about 38, you know, and he looked dead fresh-faced, you know. And I met him in the same place as I met Billy McNeill the previous year, with the chairman, Mr. Donald, and Chris Anderson was behind the situation with him as well. Chris was on he used to work for the SFA, and he would have a knowledge of what was happening in the game, getting passed down to him all the time. And he was coming along, and you just seen that stern look, you know. And I says, he's got something about him. But I didn't realise how much he had about him until he came in. And he was all right. He didn't go and upset a lot of people. He came in and got the team photo taken. I remember the team photo for the whole squad that year, and it was just him. Didn't have an assistant. Didn't dive in. He had Teddy Scott, who was fantastic, and Roland Arnott, who was a physio. The three, that was the staff. Bobby Clark helped with the coaching, and Lenny Taylor helped with the youths as well. So he never had a lot of staff. Yeah. Nowadays you've got about 20, you got a staff for a player. And I think it's a lot of nonsense, because I think players lose that side of, you know, and some of us would do our own stuff after it as well. And they'd see that, and they like that, you know. But typical Scottish boys, you know, just wanted to do well and win. And to get somebody like that, was a leader like that, and we had him for the 8 years, and the 8 years was glorious.
Well, I was going to say to you, because that 8 years, it obviously set him up on his way to another stratosphere with Manchester United, but when you look at the medals here, it is really incredible. Super Cup, Cup Winners' Cup, we'll talk about them. You know, 2 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups, and of course a couple of special medals that I'll get you to tell us the background to them. But that medal haul, I think the real catalyst for it all was suddenly you're league champions and breaking the old firm dominance. I mean, that was just unbelievable. I remember the season before, Big Billy came in and lifted the whole city. We went about his business, and he actually needed a few players in, and they got Ian Scanlon in, they got Gordon Strachan, and he got a left back from Notts Forest, Steve Ritchie. Yep. Because they didn't have any competitive players in that league. You know, it was just young boys that was coming through at that time, and he needed somebody that could get into the first team. And he says to me, they just sold Arthur Graham for 140 grand, a lot of money. Yeah. Considering Arthur gave him a good service. And he says, I want to play you outside left. I says, I know you don't play here, John. He says, but I want to get you in midfield. You're my type of player, I want you to play in there. You're busy, we've seen what you can do. John Clark's had a look at you as well. And that for me was $1 million to me. It was putting the arm around you and believing in you, you know. And but I went out on the outside left, and I get the usual shouts, you know, get up your wing, McMaster. I wasn't a sprinter. I wasn't a visionary touch, you know, stuff like that. And quite good with my passing and that. After a couple of weeks, he gets Ian Scanlon from Notts County, puts me into midfield. I'm in there with Andy Watson, who's another boy that's come through the youth ranks. Yep. But a local loon, as they call him up there, and he was fantastic to play with. And then you've got Gordon on the other side, or Dom Sullivan, you know, so he's a perfect balance, you know. And it was a team that we knew we could do things with, and he took us all the way to Scottish Cup. Rangers won the treble that year, but we went on a 20-game run. Yeah. And I got in my first Scottish Cup final with Billy. And after it, we got beat 2-1. And after that, I froze there. I says, I'm my wife. Yeah. And I says, I remember my first cup final, I just froze it. Everything just took over me. I was already prepared for it, but when I got into the part and the whistle went, I was like that. Just knew yourself that you didn't come up with the displays that you were doing the previous weeks before that, you know. And that was a disappointment for me, you know. I think a lot of people will look at the side that he was building, you know, and he always wanted to try and get the spine of a side. Fergie's side always had that spine where you knew, you know, goalkeeper, 2 centre halves, somebody with a bit of steel in there, and then all of a sudden, I always call it the Fergie sprinkling of gold dust around it to make it special. Is that a fair assessment of the way it was starting to come together? I think he had reliable people right through the middle. Yeah, he inherited wee Joe as well. He was a bit of a pest, but then again, Joe was a pest for every manager. You know, but what a player! He inherited a good squad, and I think he knew that. He understood that, because in the worked with squad,
But I can remember a great occasion. It was Teddy Scott that told me this, and I'll never forget this. The boss, first pre-season, he had a couple of weeks looking at what was happening, saying, you know, and he went up to the chairman after training one day, and he seen him just outside the boardroom. He says, "Can I have a word with you, chairman?" He says, "Aye, come on in the boardroom." He says, "What is that?" He says, "There's a couple of areas that I'm wanting strengthened." He says, "Any chance of getting a couple of players in?" And he says, "Come here a minute." He says, looked over the actual picture, the team photo, and he says, "See that team there? You've got about 35 players in it." He says, "Go and work with them and come back and see me and see how it goes." He says, boss says, "Aye, okay, no problem, we'll do that." Before he went out, he says, "And by the way, Alex," he says, "don't get us into debt." Amazing.
And that was the ethos.
Never came back.
Yeah.
That's when the Hewitts and the Blacks and the Simpsons and the Coopers, that's when they were getting watched and coached by Bobby Clark and Lenny Taylor across the street where we trained on the elusive car park.
Yeah.
And the Red Ash car park.
Well, I was going to say
The
to
Red
you,
Ash car park.
and that delivers this. But the one thing that you did have, we talked about psychology, the one thing you're starting to rhyme off players that suddenly, are special. I mean, Willie Miller was there, and you're you're saying to yourself, okay, suddenly there'll be a partnership at the centre of defence. You're looking further ahead. I mean, Stuart Kennedy was top drawer.
Stuart was a great buy.
He was
Stuart
absolutely
a steal for
superb.
Falkirk. Alan McLeod done well with him. I think it cost him 20 grand.
Yeah.
Wow. What a player he is. What a fitness fanatic he is. He lifted the whole level of fitness, there. Jim Hermiston was a great guy when I went up, and Jim was always into his fitness, and Bobby Clark was. But I've never seen anybody's into their fitness as much as Stuart.
Yeah. Mark McGee obviously turns it into a classic funny story when when he's racing. Is he taking on Steve Archibald?
Oh.
He doesn't. I mean, I've met Stuart many times. He just doesn't understand defeat. There's just no way somebody's going to beat him.
That was fantastic. I thought he took too much. I says, "You're giving him too much. Archie will beat you. Stevie will beat you." It's off. Never. That was at Gordonston.
Yeah.
Famous Gordonston. It was great. So that was a sort of banter.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to stand back. Because when Stevie thought, well, I've got a 2-yard start here, over 100 metres. Kennedy done him.
Away.
Oh, he was nervous about it because I thought that, because all the boys were saying, "Oh, you're going to," says that's going to be difficult. Because Archie was quick, but he was only on 10, 15 yards.
Yeah.
But Big McLeish played midfield and all under Big Billy, and then all of a sudden, Willie Garner was there as well. So we bit of strength and depth. But with Big Alec learning his lessons in midfield, he was a different class of big man.
Well, you'll have to
underestimate.
What about his goal at Hampden against Rangers? I mean,
I scored that with celebration. I jumped on him and I says, we're all over him.
Yeah.
I don't know how it got to extra time, but the bottom line is that's when Big Neil Cooper scored for about a metre out.
Yep.
And blittered it in, and he was never going to miss against the Rangers side. But Big McLeish played midfield, and then that was, again, he had a big learning curve there, and then he just slowed down and went, "Oh, they two were."
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine me, the modern day, two sitting midfielders, and saying to Willie and Alec, "I'm going to protect you."
Yeah.
They'd just say, "Bugger off."
Yeah, exactly.
Bugger off, Spam.
I mean, that must have been when those two are suddenly forming that partnership in those years, the whole team must have got a lift, because apart from anything else, they had that bit between the teeth as well. They had the drive, they had that competitive edge too. Yeah. How important was it to the team that you had that spine with those two at the helm?
Well, you knew if anybody got by them, they had to get by Big Jim Layton or Bobby Clark. So that was a start, but to try and get by them, and the fullbacks would be Big Dougie Rugby and Stewarty.
Yeah.
And he would play a boot with the left back now and again, put me in sometimes. But he always knew that he had a strong back five.
Yeah.
He never changed that. You could dream at half, no problem.
Yeah.
And then the midfield, it wasn't until I got my injuries that I struggled to get back. But I was a regular in midfield with Andy Watson, and he was a beast, box to box.
Yeah.
Their fitness levels went through the roof. The boss used to have this This exercise, I done it after every training session, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if we didn't have a midweek game. And then he is back-to-back 60-yarders. And I love them now. Everywhere I go, I get back-to-back 60-yarders. Your fitness levels go through the roof. You go by people in the last 10, 15 minutes, and they're saying, "Where do you come from?"
Yeah.
The team was fit.
Yeah. What's the game? What's your favourite game?
Oh, it's got to be Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
To a degree, it's Bayern, but the first time we won the league at Easter Road.
Yeah.
Jackie McNamara played in that game, and I was assistant to Jackie and Alan McGraw at Morton for 10 years. And Jackie, I says to him, he says to me, he says, "John," he says, "we were on a treble bonus." I says, "You could have been on £1 million each, and you still wouldn't have got near us that day." Majestic.
Incredible.
But the big one was the quarter-final.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the run to Gothenburg, because some of the teams that you've taken out, the teams with the players that they have at their disposal that you managed to beat, is for younger people who watch this, they might not get a sense of how good your team was. But before we get to that run, let's talk through the medals, obviously, because so I can explain it to everyone. You've got two there on the left. What are they?
That's kicked off my winning career.
Yeah.
With Sir Alex, and that's the league championship.
Brilliant. That's
78.
Yeah, brilliant.
78, 79.
Magic.
And that's when we delivered and we knew we were a competitor.
Right. And the next one?
That's 1983 league championship badge as well.
Yeah.
Which I scraped in after a bad injury.
Yep.
Which was great. I could have been amongst them all, but injuries kind of curtailed a wee bit. But come back and was involved in everything that was important.
Yeah.
So,
and these medals here are just magnificent.
Scottish Cups.
Yeah.
To get to a Scottish Cup final and freeze, and then all of a sudden you can tell a story about getting there and achieving it 3 times.
Well, I was going to say,
it was 3 in a row, but I was 81, 82 and 86.
Yeah. Do you feel guilty about taking one of those winners' medals? The reason I'm saying that is because, Alex McLeish occasionally phones Gordon Strachan and said, Fergie's after-match interview where he says, "Only Miller and McLeish played well in this final." And Alec will phone Gordon up and go, "Have you still got that winner's medal we won you?" I mean, honestly.
See, I'll tell you a story about that. He was going bad. It's like as if he's chewing a fly, or a bee, and I was like that. So when he said that, we were stunned. Just you can't react to that because we've just on our knees won the Scottish Cup and the European Cup Winners' Cup, and everybody's going Tonto apart from him. He's going Tonto against us, apart from Big Alec and Willie. And we're in the dressing room, and Gordon says to him, "Oh, Willie and Alec, a wee side bike and a motorbike, and then you can have the tour of the city."
Yeah.
Instead of a double top bus, you get a single deck motorbike. You can see to Union Street with the cup. And the two of them took it well, but they get some pelt. I think there was something behind that.
Yeah. Because
of the Rangers scenario,
Yep.
and what had happened to him as a player there. The previous thing, I think
He wanted to do it with style.
I think so. I think that was. He always thought we could do that and one last game out of us, but he did apologise eventually. But I don't know when. I think it was in his documentary. Him and Jason was doing something, and they says, "Do you think someone was playing your mind about the Rangers there?"
Yeah.
He says, "I just don't know what happened there."
Well, a win's a win. You got the medal, which is fantastic.
Well,
and these two here,
that's League Cup runners-up medals. I was unfortunate to get beat by Rangers and Dundee United. Dundee United at Hampden, we hammered them nothing each.
Yeah.
We should have beat them, but in the return leg at Dens Park, they destroyed us.
Yeah.
It was pouring rain, get beat 3-0. And Rangers obviously 2-1. It was another close game, and that was a treble.
Yeah.
They got that year, So
the other thing I was going to say to you, and I don't know how you view it yourself, some people look on some runners-up medals with disdain, but is it not a sense of, especially if you've got so many winners' medals, but is it not a sense of sometimes people would give their right arm to play in a final. What was your viewpoint on it?
It's funny you could say that, because the person I went up to Aberdeen with was Robert Street, another young boy from Port Glasgow Rovers.
Yeah.
And that's the team we played with in the Paisley District League. And we went up together. And I reached the cup final, and Streety come up to me and he says, "You're a legend, Johnny." I says, "What do you mean I'm a legend?" He says, "You're in the Scottish Cup final."
Yeah.
I says, that's fine, but we've not won nothing yet.
Yeah.
And I come back down and says, "I'm not a legend." He says, "You're a legend, you got a Scottish Cup runners-up medal.
Well.
And you're in the wee red book."
Yeah, well, exactly.
To a certain degree, that's success to different people.
Yes.
But they didn't have a manager
Like Sir Alex.
the boss.
Yeah.
So, or Billy McNeil, or Jockstein.
Yeah.
So ask them guys that.
Well, exactly.
You know yourself that some people have thrown medals away, I believe, in all different types of sport, and I wouldn't throw it away.
Yeah.
Because it's my history.
Well, I'm glad you.
And it's part and parcel of it, you know.
Absolutely. I think it tells a story, doesn't it?
It does. It just says that after 4 attempts, I become a winner.
Yeah, well, you're in the Hall of Fame at Aberdeen,
fantastic.
Which is magnificent. And before we start to talk about the run all the way to Gothenburg, let me ask you, of all the great winning teams, they've always had, you know, a sense of belonging, a sense of family, a sense of what we've achieved will always be together. How good is it for you, first of all, to see the lads again, and what did it mean to you getting in the Hall of Fame?
The Hall of Fame was emotional. It's one of them things that you don't think you'll ever get in football. I got a testimonial as well there, which was great. You know, in the '86, when we won the Scottish Cup, and the Scottish Cup was on the table with a testimonial, it was great. And to get the Hall of Fame, it took a wee while for that to get set up with Aberdeen, you know, but obviously all the Gothenburg greats is more or less in there, but they still got us all together. I'd have liked that, just to get us. But to get into the Hall of Fame is the biggest achievement. Well, on top of this, we got a big, beautiful bit of granite. Granite's black and grey and it's polished. And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous and it's so heavy. It's just something that's different. And we've got a picture with the old colours, gold and brown, gold and black, you know, and with your name and the crest, and they're precious. Yeah. They're precious things.
Absolutely. Of course.
But 14 years that's not a bad sentence to end up getting a Hall of Famer. You know?
14 years, and when you think about it, even in modern day football, you know, there's very few and far between that will do that, John, and you should be tremendously proud. Let me just before I start talking about the run, let me talk about the players then. You're at that point, I think you're playing a preliminary round as well, and win 11-1 over the two legs. But when you looked at the players that were there, and you know that you've had success, you know, in previous years, and you now know what Fergie's all about, did you sense something special, or was it too early?
I think it's when we started to win in Europe, you know, because the year before Peter Weir gave Boy Mills a bit of a headache.
Ipswich, that was some game.
To this day, Brian Gunn gives him a lot of pillars and celebrates it with him. The game, when it's McMills's birthday, phones him up. Big Ben phones him up. Do you remember this day? Do you remember us saying Peter Weir? Weir was unbelievable. Yeah,
it's sensational.
Him and Strachan were brilliant. No, I mean, you know, that's the way we used to call it. So.
Do you think that those games that you talked about, you mentioned Ipswich, do you think the Ipswich game and previously the Liverpool game, did they give you that learning curve of how to play in Europe? We
got a few downs in Europe.
Yeah.
The Germans just thanked us the first couple of games. Hamburg beat us a few times, and so did a couple of German teams beat us in the early rounds. And then the English teams beat us, Liverpool and Ipswich. Well, to an extent, Ipswich down there, they thought they were getting through, but a big breakthrough. Because we started to believe in it then, because we're getting further on, you know. And then Zeon, obviously, we were up 7-0 for the first leg, I think it was, and we go over to Switzerland. It's a gorgeous place, you know. And you've got all these vineyards and all that, and monasteries and all that, and nobody's wanting to play the game. They're all just wanting to pass the ball. Say, look at me, see this one. Look at that one over there. That's the way it was. But the biggest compliment the boss got from there, we won about 4-1 over there or something, and the biggest compliment he got was their chairman had seen what the manager was all about, the way he managed the players on and off the park, and how he went about being humble to opposing teams, and you know, he was great at that because he loved Big Jockstein.
Yeah.
Big Jock was a master at that, you know, and their chairman says that you've got a wee chance in this game, and this to win this.
Yeah.
Because right at the very start of that was a quotes.
Wow, amazing. I mean,
that is amazing.
You move on to Dinamo Tirana.
Albania.
Yeah, suddenly, I mean, are they a level above, Albania?
Albania.
Are they a level above again? Do you remember much about that game?
It was scorching heat, and there was a queue on in the city. The king was ready to get replaced. But they gave us an audience about 2 o'clock in the morning. We were in a big area, and it was third world country, to be honest with you. We just wanted to get in and out as quick as we could. Took our own supplies and whatever. And the boys handled it well. We'd won 1-0 at home, and the wee fella up front was a decent player, and he gave one out a wee bit of a hard time, you know. And the boss had seen that. He says, we need to do this right, be very professional. So everything they'd done was right, and we weren't going to get in because of the queue situation, but we got it done. To cut a long story short, we got to the game, we're having a warm-up, and typical Stuart Kennedy, the way the boss is, the way he's trained us and tuned us into things, he says, who's the referee? Nobody knew where the referee came from. So Stuart says, I'll go and find out where the referee came from. And he says, he's come from Hungary. Right?
Yeah.
He says, hey, got his eye together. He says, he might have relatives over here. He might have relatives over here. He says, what's your tackles about the box and inside the box? He says, because you never know. So we get through it. Nothing each. So it was 1-0 aggregate. And before Stuart had stopped talking about the referee, he says to him, is everybody happy with it? Anybody want to know any questions? And he went like that. Big Simmy comes running, and a big loon, big country guy, you know. He says, Stuart, he says, Far's hungry. Far's hungry. Where's hungry? Where's hungry? And Stuart says, you want a history lesson or a geography lesson? And he says, before the game, he says, one will keep you right anyway, I'll tell you. But he's seen McLeish and Mark McGee. They're waiting to see if he's going to get it right. This is before kick-off. That's the way we were.
Yeah.
And so Stuart says, right, Simmy, hungry. Know where Stonehaven is. You go by Stonehaven and you take the first left. Big Simmy says, thanks, Stuart. But it was a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Big Simmy was just nervous because he just said something and that was it.
Yeah.
Everything just went, but it was funny. Funny.
The one thing I think you mentioned there, and it comes across as a camaraderie, there's a good few wind-up nurses. I mean, Mark McGee, you know, loves a wind-up. I know Gordon loves a wind-up as well. I mean, who were the main characters that you thought you were never secure with when you're...
Well,
yeah.
McLeish was my roommate and he always stuck me in it. You know, you knew where he was. You had 5 seconds to reply. In fact, you'd worse than that. I got a dodgy haircut one day, and it was a bit of body. It was wee Ian Turnbull, he was my hairdresser all my life up there. And he says, John, I'm going to give you some body. I says, right, okay. And I got it, I was a wee bit bouncy, you know. I wasn't a ginger, I was a strawberry blonde. Well, my mum says I should be a strawberry blonde, so I stick to a strawberry blonde. But he turns around and says to me about the haircut. He says, what have you done to yourself? My wife? Because she's slagging me already.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I'm going to get it with him. So I just went in the next morning and I put my head in the door and said, do what you can with that. He says, get on with it. He says, what have you done to your hair, Spalmer? He says, I've got a wee bit of body in it, and that made it even worse. So everybody's all getting their stick out, and the wee man steps up onto the actual chair and goes, in my head, he says, I'm looking for ankles. I'm looking for ankles and knees. Oh, finished.
Yeah.
So that was it. But if you couldn't survive that, that was a bit of the mentality you had as well, the strength that you had.
Yeah.
To take all that, you know. But everybody got their own share. And Willie was running about like a 3 degree,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. I was going to say that to you. You've got Tirana out of the way, suddenly Lech Poznan.
Oh, Dougie Bell ran riot in that. Dougie Bell was an enormous player for us away from home because teams could not handle anybody running at their midfield and then getting through midfield defence.
Do you think he was underrated? A lot of people,
without doubt.
you know, he's a skillful player. Everybody thinks he's a hard player, but he's a skillful
fit boy as well.
Yeah.
But you got him and Steve Cowan from St Mirren.
Yeah.
And they done a trick for him because Stevie won the Driver Cup for him.
Yeah.
We had a massive 30-yarder, you know, and Stevie always tells us that, you know. But Dougie's done well as well to become a major player of the team because we'll talk about him later on as well because he destroyed Lech Poznan because of his directness.
Yeah.
And then you had Big Simmy and Neil Cooper in there, 3 animals, you know. But they've done their fair share of tackling.
Yeah.
But they were fair people and they can take a tackle.
I was going to say to you,
balance.
apart from having a bit of steel about your team, they all had to have technical ability.
Well, Big Dougie, now and again, try to think he was Beckenbauer, you know.
Yeah.
but Big Dougie was different class.
Yeah.
You could play Big Dougie up front and still do a trick for you.
Yeah.
But the boss had that, he had that belief in these guys. And he knew you would get something out of them. And he knew you were going to get 90% or 90 minutes, you know, and some. And they were on the same level. And they all came from the same sort of background as well. They all came from the schemes all over Scotland in different areas, you know. And it was a delight. And then the young boys who were spoiled in Aberdeen, playing in grass and all that, you know.
Absolutely, I was going to say to you.
The rugby, you know, the cutes and all that. But they learned off us and we learned off them, you know. And that's how it all kind of joined together because, there was, you know, something was not any backstabbing.
Yeah.
No backstabbing.
Well, when you're winning and you're actually building a team spirit with the players, it's great. Quarterfinals, it lives in the memory of every Aberdeen fan I've ever spoken to. They look on it with tremendous pride, memories. It's that old moment when you turn round to your sons and daughters and say, I was there. Curiously enough, I want to ask you, beating Bayern Munich at home was phenomenal in the way it all, you know, eventually turned out. But for me, any team that can go away to Germany and get a 0-0.
That was the result that made the boys believe. In fact, they still beat them. We hammered them 0-0.
Yeah.
We were good at doing that, but we got it over the line this time instead of the Dundee United thing, because that was a sore one with us. We didn't want to be known as losers. And Dougie Bell again. Mm-hmm. Wow. I was in the stand, I wasn't picked, but I was in the company just in case anybody fell through. So I think they left Gordon out and they played Dougie, and the Germans couldn't handle him. Could not handle him, you know.
Well, I was going to say to you, I mean, that team itself, I always remember the boy Klaus Augenthaler. He could hit a ball from 35, 40 yards with ease.
He was a big strength player for him as well. He actually was the star of the show, and he was a big German internationalist. He went on to become European winners and everything, didn't he, really?
Well, you've got Rummenigge on that side too.
Rummenigge.
Yeah.
But Wally took care of that.
What did Fergie say to you beforehand?
Well, moving on.
Just when you've got a 0-0, you're now in the game where you know you've got them at home.
Oh, he's delighted with that.
What's he said beforehand?
Disappointed that we never won the game. He says that. He says that's the best performance you've had. That's what he says. He doesn't mess about. 10 minutes, bang, away.
Yeah.
Just tells you what you've got to say. He says, and then he says that he was happy going by. He says, we've got a wee chance.
Yeah.
You know, at home.
Was there an inspirational speech? Did he need that?
Nah, he'd done his homework.
Yeah.
He'd done his homework Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sometimes he'd take you in the Sunday just to get us all together, to get chatting and talking and getting involved with. You would know who's playing or whatever, know you'd have a wee vague idea of the way he's set up and talking about it, and everybody would be getting reports on the opposition and stuff. They were very, very. Him and Archie were
thorough.
Really, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
What a team.
Yeah, and in a strange sort of way, that whole game turns on its head in 60 seconds. And it's that fast that even the cameras can't catch the goal first time around.
They stuck on me too. They couldn't even see me celebrating. But it was just something. You talk about tactical awareness. That was outstanding, what he done. To take off Stuart Kennedy,
yeah,
who had a discussion with him.
Why?
Into that later. I mean, no Big Dougie, because he was moving Big Dougie over to the right wing, the right back, and he's moving Tatty Peel, Neil Cooper, into left back, right? And they wanted somebody to get a ball forward because Neely Simpson and Neil Cooper were getting strangled in there, and they weren't getting the ball forward enough, and that's all it was. It was a simple thing like that, but he made a 4-man kind of positional move, and it paid off because within minutes. I've got a couple of boys doing the channels or whatever, and the Germans there on their knees, and then we get a free kick. And the first thing the wee man says to me, and we'd done it before and we were unlucky. It's not as if it was, one of them ones.
I was going to say, these are practised.
Oh, okay. It was a boss and Archie that come up with it. To be honest with you, he says, we're going to F this up. That's his exact words to me. I says, right, okay. Everybody sees us with body language, what we're doing. We're talking away. This signal then I hit the first man at the post. It's one of them ones. We're arguing away, and the Germans just like, what the shouting and bawling about. It says, I think they're going crazy to the Scots boys.
And he goes as if he's going to hit it.
He turns away, and what a sweet ball was it?
Brilliant.
What a sweet ball. And then you get big ginge, bump. Oh, it was always going to win.
And
because seemingly, see the day before, they were at Cocky, they were up buying the Crystal on Union Street.
Wow.
Really. They were that cocky. But then they should be cocky because that was
players.
Aye, but they scored to make it 2-1. And then that massive, that changed our whole history of the club.
And of course, John Hewitt's that man who suddenly starts to emerge as a guy who just scores goals that will live long in the memory.
Well, you see, the thing is, Johnny was only about 19 when about
I was going to say to you.
And so was Neil Cooper and Neil Simpson in my quarter-final against Bayern Munich. Right, but see when they scored the second goal, Johnny Hewitt, that age, went in and got the ball and put it in the centre circle. Because he knew we didn't have a lot of time. And within a minute, I'm out on the left side. I think Dougie Bell won the ball back, and he got it back out to me, and I just hit one to the back post to Eric Black. And Eric Black, for me in the air, is one of the best players I've ever seen because
phenomenal.
He had an invisible chair underneath him. Sometimes he was just and he got that.
He could elevate himself, couldn't he?
Oh, fantastic! And he got to the back post, and the cameras missed that bit because it was just the pass you seen. And he hits the bar. And Hewitt runs in and gets it. Gets his reward for thinking so quick to get his back in it. Germans are that.
What was that night like afterwards?
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
But we had a game 2 or 3 days after it. And I think we all just went to the usual places that we'd done. You know? But it was the best atmosphere ever Pittodrie had seen. Honestly, the roars, and I've never seen it before in my life like that.
I have to say, I've heard mental stories from some of the boys, about, McLeish and McGee going for sweeties, and he decides to leave them behind and drives the buses going down from Aberdeen, and they can't get on it. But when the time was right, did he allow you to party?
Oh, aye. We knew. We were professional. We were so professional, it didn't need to tell us. You know what I mean? But we silly things would get at him a wee bit, discipline, on the park, half the park, But you'd always run things by him, or you'd run things by each other. And you'd go to Willie if there was anything in there, or Big Alec, There was always people like that who can breach first. You say to Archie, or talk to the physio, Roland Arnott, and what do you think about Teddy Scott? Teddy Scott was a great barrier. For Teddy Scott and for the chairman, Mr. Donald and Ian Donald, his son, and Chris Anderson, who had passed away by that time, that was great moments for them. And that was part. Our chairman was so. He owned half of Aberdeen, so he did. But he would come into the actual club in the afternoon. Sometimes you'd be down there, and you see him switching the lights off. You say, I don't need that on. Don't need that on. He's just one of these guys. You always go back to that story Teddy tell me, don't get us in debt. That's a great thing as well.
It's no surprise everybody loves the game against Bayern Munich, because the semi-final, it looks, as when you see the result, that Waterschei of Belgium were easy, but you still have to take them out.
That was meant for us to happen.
Yeah.
Isn't it really? First goal was Simi. Just destroyed them. Dougie Bell outstanding. I watched some of the highlights recently, and I was saying, there's Dougie again. There's Dougie again.
Yeah.
There's Dougie. He had a terrible strike at goal and it skidded away to the right.
Yeah.
And Johnny Hewcott or Blackwell comes in and scores. You know, it was a miss hit.
Yeah.
But Dougie must have created about 2 or 3 opportunities.
You're in the final. You know you're going to Gothenburg.
Wow.
Suddenly you find out you're playing Real Madrid. What's the mood?
You're excited. The whole city's excited. You can't get here quick enough.
You're not favourites.
No, we're not favourites, but that's great. Because we know we could play. And the boss knew that he'd seen him. He got reports on him in semi-final games. He'd got reports on him. He wasn't being cocky. This was before we played Watershy, the first one. And he'd covered as well, and I think he got Archie over as well. And he'd seen, he went into a lot of dialogue about him, and he knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And we were prepared well. But his biggest preparation was bringing Big Jock along as a guest of the club.
Masterstroke.
Wow. As far as mentally and, you know, try to get people right and get us concentrating in our game. He's trying to get Big Jock in with that. You know, everybody knows Jock Stein worldwide, you know, because of what he's done. We go training into the stadium on a Tuesday, and the Spaniards is out already with Di Stefano and all that. You know. The boss is a wee bit worried about us looking at Di Stefano and all. Big Jock comes out and the Spaniards is looking at Big Jock, you know, and the boss says 1-0. That was one of the things. Big Jock's gave him advice about keep the manager happy, give him a bottle of whiskey in the box and all that. Jock, he says, Jock's saying, hi, boss, and the boss is kept these. But they used to always meet anyway, the directors, which they do anyway.
Yeah.
And they used to do a meal and all that the night before. And
Just these wee touches of class.
But the thing like that is, you know, Di Stefano loved us.
What was the... there's 2 quick things I want to get before we talk about the game itself. What's the feeling like with some players? You mentioned Dougie Bell. He's going to miss it. What was the feeling like for players who you're worried who's definitely in, who's out, who's picked up an injury, is going to miss the final?
Stuart Kennedy missed the semi-final.
Exactly.
Stuart's career, I'd have just tapered his career brilliant for him to get there. And I'd say to him, Stuart, if you were fit, I wouldn't be playing, I'd be on the bench. I knew that because the boss would go with Big Dougie and Stuart in the right, because he had that solidness about us. But he would keep me on the bench, he'd still be involved. But it was an opportunity for me because I came back for a horrendous injury and I was involved in that, so I was out for about 1.5 years, and by that time Neil Cooper and Neil Simpson had come into the middle of the park and started operating stuff, Jim Bett as well, so I was chasing the tails. But to involve me in it alone was fantastic. But the boys were all gutted. Stuarty was he was trying to convince the boss that he could play. Yeah. But he couldn't.
Yeah.
And he got hold of him and says, look, I'm putting you on the bench a week before the game.
It's a great touch, isn't it?
And it just elevated everybody up again, and we went he came into the dressing room, the boss took him out of the dressing room, had a word with him, did a couple of runs, I'm putting you on the bench, no more nonsense, just stop that carrying on, saying you're fit. I know you're not fit, but you're going on the bench. He goes in and tells the players and we're all on him.
Brilliant.
By the way, that's genius.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's genius. Honestly.
Yeah.
How can you think that? You know, and wow, he's criticised left, right and centre. HR, how would that do in them days?
Well,
you know, it's just something that
little touches that
go
make
so
it.
far.
Yeah.
It's just something that you know you're saying the right thing at the right time, and you're getting a response for the people. And doing that lifted us.
I'm glad you mentioned those things, because sometimes, you know, people. You ever on the end of a hairdryer?
Aye, we got a blast furnace. I wasn't a hairdryer. The Man United boys got a hairdryer. A hairdryer could run it, a battery, but a blast furnace can't. I got a blast furnace, and it was my big mate McLeish.
Yeah.
It was just pre-match meal. We used to go down to the hotel, in the centre of Aberdeen, and after it'd be, me and him were roommates for 6 years, and Big Alec had my wife had actually sent a message to try to get hold of me, and Big Alec took the message and came downstairs. We're all watching the St Greavesy before the game, and he shouts over, Big Alec shouts, that way he goes, you know, Spammer, he says, Katie says, can you drop the pram off? Pram. That silence. So you're a Western and know the straws, so
Yeah.
you know. And I get away with it, doesn't look around, you know. So that's fine. 1:45. We've to be doing the stadium for 1:45. We go down there. The team gets picked at 1:45, Peter. 1:45. So he gets you on the edge. So anyway, I've survived it here. And we're playing St Mirren. Goes out. I've had a nightmare. I'm coming off the park at half time with the wee man. So he's going to terrorise me. I knew it. I says I had a nightmare. He's going to terrorise me. And the next thing, he comes in. I think my nose got just in the front door. And he was like, Bram! His breath was alright, you know, wasn't that bad? But Bram, right in there, you know. Oh,
He's logged it in the back of his mind.
I thought I got away with this, but I never. So he's pinned us against the wall. Archie Knox has a terrible habit of going like that. I used to laugh, the boys getting terrorised. And he's got me pinned up against the wall, and Big McLeish is sitting at the end, going on that way seat.
Brilliant.
Oh,
The final.
that was one of, not a lot, but
One of them that sticks in your mind.
see the next game, he picked me. He
Yeah.
kept me off that half. He said, just you stay in the dressing room, John, or Spammer.
Yeah,
He says,
mull it
"Stay in
over."
Aye, he says, but he picked me next, no hesitation.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't hold any grudges that way.
Yeah. The final. Real Madrid. I'm looking at their team. You know, Stielica's in there. Juanito was.
I took care of him.
Yeah.
I took care of him.
I was just about.
Before you even
I
asked
was
me,
just about to say to you because I remember him as a player, and he was a special player.
It was a weak link to them.
Was that the message from Fergie to
I
you?
was about that.
Yeah.
He obviously he didn't have much choice because of the actual experience I'd had.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to put Neil Cooper in there. He wanted Neil in the centre of the mid. He might have done that in the past. So he could use Neil Cooper in a lot of positions as well at that time, and Big Dougie, but obviously he was Stuart getting injured.
And the Johnny Metcalf as well.
Johnny Metcalf.
Yeah. It was a good team. What was your memory of it? Because obviously it's the perfect start.
The memory for me was another set piece.
Yeah.
Especially for Blackwell.
Yeah.
But it was Big Alec.
He makes the run.
Makes it run. Me and Gordon's as we used to be in the corners for an in-swinger, out-swinger, and the wee man. Big Alec came late, and the Spaniards again couldn't handle it. Big man gets a header, and it kind of skids off a goal. It skids and it goes down for a header, and then a goal he gets or something like that, and it comes out to Blackwell, and he skates it and all into the net. It wasn't as if it was a blooter, but it was Blackwell again.
What was the mentality when they get the equaliser?
Oh, it was Big Alec had been going on and on. The mentality was to get hold of Big Alec because he was telling everybody about the pass backs.
Yeah.
He says, don't mention pass backs.
The pitch was terrible though.
The pitch was Greenock weather, Catblow weather.
Yeah.
You know, big puddles. No, that was just the pass backs. The big man got fun out with that, and Big Jim and the wee winger. Did he not score? Was it him that scored? No, it wasn't. Stielica.
Yeah.
Stielica. He took it because I don't think any Spaniards was wanting it.
No.
In fact, they knew they were in a game with us because we were all over them.
Yeah.
Honestly, we should have won that game in the 90 minutes, Pete.
Yeah. I mean, the goal to win it though, for me,
fantastic.
A lot of people talk about Mark McGee as a goal scorer, but Mark McGee's touch, his ability to hold a ball and his ability to create things. I mean, the whole build up to that goal.
Did you call him a goal scorer?
No, he told me he was a goal scorer, but he had those qualities.
Morton.
Didn't he?
Morton. Then he went to Newcastle and got fun out, but he was already at Aberdeen.
I'll tell him.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic for us, honestly. He used to make my bad boys great boys. You know, Mark was always dingus, as we call him.
Yeah.
Just put a ball in his space and he's there.
Yeah.
Blackwell was there. Anybody, Johnny Hewitt was there. But I don't even know how he used his left foot that day, because normally he comes back. But where it all started was me,
Yeah.
I was behind all. I was at the left back position. I gave it to Peter.
Yeah, and his
Peter
ball
went on the Maisie.
Yep.
And I'm like, how's she there? The boss just said to me, look, just give him a ball all the time. That's it. Jock Stein, Jimmy Johnson,
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know. So, and then Dingus gets it. And he goes, by this guy's. Well, Mark was a gymnast.
Yeah.
You see with his thighs and his strong bugger. And he just gets it in. And then all of a sudden it's a spectacular cross. And guess who's there to shoot? Bang.
Brilliant.
And it's that kick. See the donkey kick it had done,
Yeah.
he get pelters for that. He could have done anything he wanted and still get pelters for it, because it's
Yeah.
funny how we celebrate that but still give him stick for
Oh,
it.
you'll give
You
him
know?
pelters for that. That's the dressing room mentality. Can I ask you at that point though? I mean, I remember everybody's talking about certain moments. You know, Bill Shankly saying to Jock Stein for the European Cup, "John, you're immortal." Did you realise? Did you sense? I am, and we are, forever in Aberdeen's history. Did you get that sense when you've won the European Cup, Winners' Cup?
No, it's actually the team that we beat, we looked at in strength. The cup was brilliant to get, aye, but it was what you got after it
Yes.
from the fans.
Yeah.
You're a legend. I found that hard to accept,
Well, I was gonna
because
say
I was
that to
still
you.
playing.
Yeah.
I was still playing. That's going for getting beaten Scottish Cups and League Cups and missing out in the league, you know, bad injuries, you know, and coming back and then being a part of it, you know, it was just, it's a wee book thing for things, you know, and honestly, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So it's like a wee kid's book. It's a good story ending, you
Yeah.
know, and you end up beating the biggest team in the world.
Absolutely. I was going to say to you, and the medal is just absolutely magnificent. I mean, for anyone to actually have that, I know sometimes, you know, we can get it out of the box if it's okay, but that on the back is super special, absolutely superb as a memory. Just before we finish, a couple of points I want to get your thoughts on. The medals are great. The Cup Winners' Cup, superb. But Aberdeen are the only club in Scotland to have won 2 major European trophies. And the 2 stars, because this one here is an absolute belter. The European Super Cup. And I just think this is absolutely fantastic, because you then go on to represent Scotland. You're playing against Hamburg.
A good side.
Good side.
Good side as well.
Yeah. And it's 2 legs.
He's done his homework again.
Yeah.
You know, got a 0-0. 2-0 at home. We were a good team away from home. That's a 0-0.
Yeah.
And that's something that you never would have thought. 2 German teams.
Yeah.
And Hamburg were a team by the end. We won a European Cup.
Absolutely.
You know, so, and at that time it was the Liverpools and the Notts Forests. They were all in the go as well.
Yeah. Bayern
Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Ajax, you know.
And good to see Dougie playing in that game, eh?
Aye. Dougie's, it's nice. Dougie lost his wife 2 years ago now, and he's just thrown himself into doing a book about it and making money for the actual the cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so a great bunch of boys.
Yeah.
I couldn't have picked a better bunch.
I don't think so.
Honestly, you couldn't.
The spirit was superb.
Aye, and you're talking about the boss putting targets up all the time and telling you, right, we can do this. And I'll go on to tell you again, it's that car park where it all happened, the Red Ash, or down the beach, or the Seaton Park, where all the dogs mess is.
Yeah.
In the days in the Herald.
Yeah, I was going to say to you.
We got on with it.
And if those 2 medals are special, just briefly to finish, tell me about these 2, because some people who are Aberdeen fans of a certain generation might know about it, but some might not.
Well, this is a French football magazine sponsored by Adidas Football. You know?
Yeah.
And it was in 1983. It was a challenge of the European, all the clubs, and we topped the league. It was all Spaniards and Italians and Germans, and it was Aberdeen at the top.
Yeah.
Dundee United were 15th in the league, and it was that's the sort of trophy we got after we'd won that double.
Yeah.
And to get that was another trophy to us.
Absolutely.
Because and another bit of accolades to the club for the club to get even stronger and bigger. You know, in Scottish football benefiting as well.
Yeah, and recognised as well.
Aye, but the same one, it's the same trophy. The following year we reached the semi-final, and it's the exact same, and we ended up third. So it wasn't as if we were just there overnight.
No, you
We were at it, and we'd done a lot of damage to a lot of people.
Yeah, you weren't one
in
hit
between
wonders.
things, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Sum up what Fergie meant to you.
And without him, would be nothing. You know, I know that the team. If you respond to a player, a manager, or a person, and he's asking you to do basic stuff, simple things, I think that's what he is. He doesn't ask you to do a lot of things you can't do, and he plays to your strengths. And also, he's very knowledgeable with names and faces. He's very strong in that, you know, and remembers everything.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, he's a big lift for me.
Yeah. And the last point I'm going to mention to you is
Special man.
you as a player, the history with Aberdeen, all those successes that we've talked about. You're in the Hall of Fame, undoubtedly a legend to everybody around Aberdeen. How would you like to be remembered?
The left foot. The left foot was, everybody talks about it. I never ignored it. I used it as much as I could. And I was never ever encouraged to kick with my right until Billy McNeil came and he competed with me. And they beat me a kind of chip into a basket or something, and he was running around the car park, wasn't he? Just trophy. But I would say I always gave 100% as well. I was reliable, and I was honourable as well, because getting a testimonial is not an easy thing to get from there. And fortunate enough to be involved at the right time. And you get times in histories of like any club, you know, and I was really delighted to be involved in them 8 years that I had with the boss.
John McMaster, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you for the one-to-one.
It's been a pleasure as well. Yeah,
Top
thank
man.
you.
Brilliant.
Aye.
Uncensored, unbiased, unmatched. The Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel.